There we go.
And
We are
there we
live.
are. Hi, everyone.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Detox Girls. I'm
Hiya.
Jill.
I'm Shanna.
We're the Detox
Lori.
Girls, and we are so beyond happy to have our friend Lori with us today. I'm so
Yes.
excited. Lori and I and Shanna have actually been talking about emotions for quite some time now.
Mm-hmm.
Lori has tons and tons of insight, and we asked her to join us because in addition to all of you and the ability to learn from Lori, I am so excited to learn from Lori today. She has been teaching me so much. It's unbelievable. So if you are in your healing journey, don't discredit the emotional healing side of things, because your emotions definitely play a part in your physical healing. And
Yes.
I knew it, but I didn't know it. And now I'm starting to learn it. And I'm so excited.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So welcome, Lori. I'm so excited you're here.
Thank you.
I'm going to do just a little intro on Lori, very brief, because I want her to tell her story.
Yep.
So, like us, Lori's a mom. Lori's been on her healing journey for, forever and a day. Right. Right. So, same with so many of us here in the group. And she's, oh, I always get texts right at the beginning. I can't find it. But I also just got the thing where it said that Shanna's live. So we're good. We'll make sure that everybody gets there. But Lori also has a little bit of background in the medical field in a similar fashion as me for years and years, worked some parallel work in understanding the holistic side of things, and not just holistic, but whole-istic, right? What the W matters, holistic, because your body is whole. And so, like I said, I have learned so much from Lori. As much as I've learned from Lori along the way in the years that we've known each other, I have learned so much from Lori probably in the last 2 weeks that I'm just literally mind blown and so excited that she's here. So, but we do always need to start out with our disclaimer. So we're going to do that first. There it is. Oh, Lori.
Yes.
So excited. There it is. Okay, so here's our medical disclaimer. The information provided in this presentation, any discussion, any posts or comments are intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. It's not intended for, nor should it be used as, medical care or advice. It should not be used in formulating a diagnosis or medical treatment plan. It is not intended to diagnose, cure, treat, prevent any illness or disease. Please contact your medical physician or practitioner with any medical questions or concerns. But we thank you so much for being here. And I think, did you have a little quote that we were talking about that Lori was?
Yes, I'm working on it.
Oh, okay, no problem. Should I read it, or we'll wait for you?
Yeah, wait for me. Go ahead and maybe we could have Lori tell us a little bit about herself while I get that up.
Tell us about you, Lori.
Oh, goodness.
Where to begin?
How do I make it brief, right? Excuse me. I grew up in Wisconsin, pretty standard low-income family in middle USA.
Mm-hmm.
My upbringing was a little interesting in hindsight because my family didn't understand health like a lot of families might. I grew up on Little Debbie's and Chips Ahoy and Mountain Dew and strep throat and a lot of antibiotics. And excuse me, when I was about 13, a series of traumas started to unfold. And the first trauma that was introduced into our family was the death of one of our family members, and it blew our family apart. So from there, my life completely took a different course. And, you try to still fit in with the world around you. You try to still fit in with your friends, and you go into school and you graduate high school and you get a job and you try to find your place in the world. But I just never recovered from that, but I didn't know it. I didn't I wasn't nearly old enough to understand, and I didn't have the tools to understand what I was feeling and going through. So I'm still trying to fit a round peg in a square hole and looking for my way. And my dad says, well, why don't you do medical transcription? I hear there's real good money in that. And I thought, okay. So I did medical transcription. I worked for some hand surgeons. That was really, really fascinating. I then worked for some family practice. And then I worked, once I learned that I was pregnant and wanted to work at home, I found an opportunity working for a psychiatric hospital. And I ended up doing medical transcription for the psychiatric facility for 18 years. It was about 17 years too long. But sometimes we have to do what we have to do to keep a roof over our heads and keep bread on the table. And I was good at it. I was very productive with transcription. I did a lot of extra projects to contribute. I enjoyed the extra projects a whole lot more. But what was interesting in that work was that I really started to learn so much more than I would have ever imagined about our minds and our brains. Excuse me. And the more that I learned, the more I wanted to learn. And the more that I learned, the more I wanted to learn. And I would hear terms like locus of control. And I would think, what is that? So I'd Google it. And I'd hear things like borderline personality disorder. What is that? And it, again, this went on for 18 years. And parallel to that, I had been on my own healing journey because I had, basically from birth, I had health issues my whole life. Of course, with a lot of strep throat and antibiotics and sugar, you can imagine my health issues have all been in my gut. And when you have gut issues, we all know we have all kinds of other issues. It's only a matter of time before they start to manifest, right?
Yep.
So during this time, I would get sick and I would kind of never get better. And I would get sick again and I would get a little worse. And I would get sick again and I'd get a little worse. Your body is supposed to be able to strengthen after an illness, right? That's what our immune system is designed to do. You get sick, your body adjusts that illness and you get stronger. Only I went the other way. And I didn't understand. I couldn't find answers. Doctors had no clue. Tests are normal. You're great. You're healthy. Don't worry. Would you like an antidepressant?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No. Thanks.
Right.
So, along the course of running this normal life, I was really digging into natural medicines because, like so many people in this group, I was not getting the answers that I needed from doctors, from lab tests, from scans, from ultrasounds, nothing. I was getting no answers.
Everything was considered normal.
Everything had been normal up to a point.
Right.
Everything.
Right.
All of the scopes, pink healthy tissue, you're fine. Right. Antidepressants help stimulate appetite. Maybe you should give them a try. So I did a lot. I did a lot of herbal medicines. I saw a lot of natural providers. I did a yeast cleanse. I did a parasite cleanse. I don't recommend them at the same time. It was brutal. But again, this was a long time ago, and we didn't know what we didn't know that we know now.
Right.
So I really did a lot on my own, really clumsily, really painfully, making a lot of mistakes, really going through some stuff. And along the way, especially with the psychiatric part, I really got a chance to get to know myself. And in a way, when you look back on all of those years, you can see what a tremendous impact they had on your growth. There's always a purpose for everything. And I guess that's kind of what I want to encourage people to consider. here today is that every struggle, every trauma, every trial and tribulation has a purpose.
Right.
If we know how to look. It's actually a gift that is handed to us if we know how to recognize.
You have to be open to the fact that there's a reason why you didn't get what you wanted or didn't get the answer that you sought. Yeah.
It's part of the journey, right?
Right.
Sometimes we just want to get from A to B.
Right.
And we have to go through the whole alphabet to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So what I really want to try to do in this brief time that we have is to kind of rewind and go forward. You know, when I was growing up, I would hear things like, quit your belly aching or we'll give you something to cry about. Or, you know, I'm sure people of my era have all heard the things, you know,
Right. You're fine. Let me know if you're bleeding.
Yes.
You know, you'll survive. Just normal, typical.
Suck it up, buttercup.
Right.
Right.
Right. And it really wasn't meant to be anything. I think it's a really hard balance as a parent. I mean, you know, each of us are parents, and there are times when you're like, oh, you're fine. You know, when you're trying to figure out whether they're just trying to skip school, whether we have nervous belly because there's tests coming up or they didn't do a paper they were supposed to do or something like that.
Yes.
But it is eye-opening as an adult parent, you know, as an older parent of adult children, looking back and recognizing, you know, hopefully I didn't look over anything that I could have maybe helped with a little sooner. Parenting comes with guilt. You know how that
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And when you become a parent, you quickly realize your parents did the very best job they knew how to do with the skills they had at that time.
Isn't that the
truth? And you have a whole new respect for your parents, you know?
Right.
And, you know, I imagine there are plenty of people in this group who feel like they might be, you know, a little sensitive. They might be a little bit of an empath. They might be highly sensitive. You know, there's this term, highly sensitive person, HSP. And, you know, with that comes a whole host of sensitivities. A lot of people are sensitive to smells, perfumes, odors, you know, sounds. You have this heightened sensitivity to a lot of things in your environment, right?
Right.
And a lot of that is words. You can be very sensitive to words. And I was one of those kids. I was one of those kids that was uber sensitive to everything. You know, everything had an impact on my physical body. And again, I didn't know. I didn't understand. I didn't know what was going on with this little being. But I was thinking of this morning. As I was waking up, I was remembering as a kid, I would hold a dandelion. And I would like hover over the dandelion and I could feel it. I could feel the energy of a dandelion. I was mesmerized with dandelions. I was 6. I mean, but I'm just using that as an example of how some people are just a little more sensitive to the environment around them. And when we start talking about words and words that we hear when we're growing up, not just from our parents or our siblings who can be brutal, or our classmates who can be even more brutal, you know, there's just these continual stressors and traumas that we all go through unless we live under a rock and we don't ever get out of bed. Part of being in life is there's going to be some traumas. Hopefully they're little, but life happens. And sometimes these traumas are absolutely devastating and they absolutely affect us physically. We know this. Science proves that the stress response triggers all kinds of chemical reactions in our body. You guys can probably speak of that better than I.
Absolutely. So, right. So, the sympathetic nervous system, the limbic system, your cortisol shoots up, right? You're in fight or flight, your adrenals are taxed, all of the things. I mean, it's, yes.
And,
Right.
we know that Dr. Stephen Rao talks about heart rate variability, right?
Mhm.
What I have learned is many times when people experience a trauma, that fight or flight kicks in, right? But for about 50%, 50, not 15, 50% of the population, that fight or flight does not get turned back off.
Right.
The hypothalamus just keeps spitting it out
Mm-hmm.
throughout life.
Mhm.
Can you even for a minute feel what that feels like in your body? Ugh.
Right.
This is the entertainment part.
Yeah.
Dance it.
Literally shake it out.
Right.
So this is where I'm kind of trying to circle back to holistic.
Right.
We excuse me. Yes, I am coming off of a massive cleanse. Holistic healing has to incorporate those stressors, those traumas, those mental thoughts, those emotional thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
because if we really start looking at a body as a whole, we can compare it to Shanna, your recent post about boogers. Boogers are really no different than emotion. It's part of who we are,
Mm-hmm.
but we are trained as children to knock it off.
Yeah.
We are trained as soon as we start to form words, we're trained to stop having feelings. And they don't go anywhere.
That
They
ha-
just
that
get stuffed and stifled.
actually happens at a really young age, if you think about it.
Yes.
So, you have a newborn and you don't walk into the newborn's room and say, stop that crying.
Yes.
But we start doing it to our toddlers.
As soon
Stop
as they
that
start
crying,
talking,
you're fine.
use
Knock
your
it off.
words.
Use your words,
Mhm.
right.
And
So
use your words isn't a bad thing.
well, no,
But
right. You're right. So use your words is so assigning words to those feelings or validating those feelings and turning them into
excellent.
words.
Excellent.
So yes, you need to decompress. As an adult, you can go for a drive, you can go for a run, you can go for a walk, but the child is stuck in the house, isn't allowed to go anywhere. There is no form of escape. So maybe screaming is that escape. So maybe you let them have their tantrum. Just let them have
Safely.
their tantrum.
And
Now, I trust me, I understand. I've been to a restaurant when the tantrum ensues,
yes.
and what do, right? You don't
Yes.
want to bother somebody else's meal. I mean, I've been known to take my kids out to the car, just pick them up, take them out to the car, let them go, and maybe they're over. And a lot of things are coming to my mind now. So maybe the restaurant is overstimulating.
Absolutely.
The sounds are stimulating, the noises are stimulating. You have people talking, people chewing, babies crying, waiters and waitresses talking. You have lights, you've got the music in the background.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
And when you talk about energy, if we talk about energy of
Mhm.
that environment that you just described, just the energy of that, can you feel that? I mean,
Right.
I just you describing that, I can feel a shift in my body.
Right.
It's a lot.
Right. So
And
maybe
I know that I'm not the only one who feels this. That I'm not that special. We all feel this.
so maybe we support in the younger children, right? So the younger children that can't just go for a run, or maybe we try to support those feelings and allow them to come out and then have a discussion after, instead of getting angry at the tantrum.
Right.
Allow the tantrum to happen if you're able to. And
Right.
then maybe when they're done, try to talk through the words of how are you feeling? What made you feel that way? How can we better handle that? One of the things I really wish I would have done with my children was to teach some sort of quietness within yourself. So quiet time. How can and for everybody that's different, right? So be that prayer, be that meditation. If just simply sitting, stretching, being quiet, rather than throwing a tantrum and then, okay, well, why don't you just watch a movie? Why don't you just turn on the TV and watch a movie? So I think that if I were to do it again, that's one of the things I would do, is try to teach my children how to sit quietly, think through their thoughts, and decide how maybe next time can they handle it better, by doing something else, maybe, and even providing, here's your pillow. If you want to, punch your pillow until you feel better to get that out, because I know you can't walk out the door and go for a walk or a run. You can't get in the car and go for a drive. Many of us adults have done that, right? We have literally walked out the door and thought, it's
time for a drive.
I walk out the door. But when you're 2,
Yeah,
you can't just do that. So
and what I wanted to use what you said, as adults, now that we've become so ingrained in shutting those feelings off, how do we introduce that to ourselves again? We have these not just emotional but mental toxicities. We've got emotional toxicities and mental toxicities. How do we really start to acknowledge that that is part of our whole beingness and start to work with them? We know that we have this beautiful clean slate and we can take these drops and it does some beautiful stuff inside of our body. And I'm going to tell you, it does some beautiful stuff in your mind and your emotions too. Roll with it. It's painful, it's uncomfortable, but roll with it. Because it is so imperative that we work through those symptoms just like any other symptom. We wouldn't ignore a cold. We wouldn't ignore the flu. We wouldn't ignore nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, headaches. We don't ignore any of those. Don't ignore the mental thoughts anymore that are unhealthy for you. Don't ignore the emotions anymore that are unhealthy for you.
Great point.
Look at them like a symptom, like any other symptom, as your whole beingness, and really start to heal on all levels.
Yes, that goes in. There's actually twofold connection that goes in with the emotions. You have your emotions, which are charged, and then you have your toxicities. You have your parasites, your mold, you have your heavy metals, you have the glyphosate that has the opposite charge. So whenever you are detoxing the physical and you are removing those toxins, the emotions are attached. So you will have the emotions come out as you detox, and you'll have the emotional detox along with the physical. But a lot of people, I'm just sad today, or, oh man, I can't get over this, so I'm going to stop my drops. And then you stop the removal of that emotion. But the second part of that is actually emotions affect the different parts of our body. So if you are fearful, it weakens the kidneys. So your kidneys are associated with your adrenal glands because they sit right on top of the kidneys. So that's where your flight for life comes. So if you're fearful all the time, especially right now, this is huge with what's going on in the world. If you're constantly in fear, your cortisol is high. It is turning off your thyroid. It is turning off your estrogen, and it's keeping the cortisol high, which lowers all of your other different hormones. If you are stressed, if you're really stressed about what's going on in the world, that affects your heart and it affects your mind. And then you have grief. So how many of you have ever been so grieved? Maybe you lost a loved one and you hyperventilate. And you're just, that's because grief affects your lungs. So whenever you are detoxing different toxins, let's say that, because we had our lung talk a few weeks ago. So let's say that you are detoxing you're detoxing some heavy metals that have been in your lungs. Let's say there is some cadmium in your lungs because you breathed it in because you were driving behind a truck that's a diesel. Can't get around it. We have diesel trucks. It's just what it is. But you breathed it in, so you had cadmium. Well, let's say that you have some grief going on in your body and in your past. And then as you detox the cadmium, that grief will come up with it because it's detoxing your lungs. So you may have that grief come up and you don't know why you're feeling sad or upset about something that happened, or that thought never came to you for a long time. Well, you're actually removing that emotion because it is charged. Everything is charged. And we operate here in the Detox girls, we operate on a quantum level. So we're not just looking at what this little bitty thing will do to this little bitty thing. We actually look at what is the underlying factor. There is quantum everything. Everything is quantum. We operate off of frequencies. You talked about words, Lori, which was amazing, because our world, everything that we have was created through words.
Yeah.
So our words, scripture tells us that there is power of life and death in the tongue. Yeah. So whenever we speak, we either speak life or we speak death. So are you speaking life or are you speaking death? If you're speaking life, then you get over these emotional detoxes a lot quicker. If you're speaking death because you don't know, or because it's so traumatic and you've never been supported in how to handle that, then you can speak death over yourself, and then you can actually, your body can shrivel and those emotions will not leave. And then you're going to just repeat that over and over and over, no matter how much you detox. So you have to understand the process and understand how the body works, and that this is going to come. And whenever you understand that the emotion's going to come, if you've been angry a lot, that's going to be your liver. You're going to have stuff come up on your face, or a rash somewhere as you detox anger, because maybe somebody hurt you and it's really hard for you to deal with, and you're detoxing and you're like, why is this rash coming up? Well, it could be Epstein-Barr, it could be Guillain-Barre, it could be a few things, but it could also be the anger coming out of your liver. So these are really, really important things that we want to support you guys all, and being able to understand as you go through this process of healing, that the part that Lori's getting to, that she's doing such a beautiful job with, is we often forget about the emotion, and we think there's something wrong with us, or we want to stop it, and embracing it will help heal quicker.
But not only forget about it, we've been trained not to have them.
Yeah.
We have been trained, as soon as we start learning words, we are trained not to have emotion. But it's kind of like saying, don't sneeze. I mean, it's who we are. We have thoughts, we have emotions, we have spiritual experiences, and those, we label everything. And I don't love labels, but when you're using words, you have to use labels, right? There's no cutoff right here. We have physical health, and then we have mental health, or psychological health, or spiritual health. No. It's all one ball of everything, one united framework of who we are as a person.
Yes.
So to deny emotions, or to deny your thoughts about a trauma, or a person, or a group of people, to deny your spirituality is denying 3 parts of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the conversation that I want to nudge along, is to get people to remember all of who we are. Health isn't just a physical thing. In fact, I feel the mental, emotional, spiritual is what trickles down into the physical. When you want to talk about quantum, if we're misaligned spiritually or mentally or emotionally, it's going to trickle down into the physical. Yeah. By the time it trickles into the physical, we're already kind of in trouble.
Yeah.
And you talked about what happens when you're in trauma for a long period of time. I was probably in trauma for 32 years. It took a toll on this poor body. And again, it was a really clumsy road to finding healing, through the thoughts I didn't understand, the emotions I didn't understand, because of the trauma that I did go through as a kid. I was furious with God. And again, spiritual misalignment, 1000%. Mental misalignment, emotional misalignment. I look back on my life and I think I am lucky to be alive. I am lucky to be alive. I'm not sure how I made it because of the toll that it took on my physical body. You talk about adrenals, they were shot. They put so much stress on my thyroid. My thyroid went into Hashimoto's. I've got Epstein-Barr. I've got history of chickenpox. I mean, it took a massive toll, and it also took a massive amount of dedication and stubbornness and tenacity to learn to unlearn all of the bad habits that I used as coping mechanisms just to get through my day and to get through my life, and to find some people that were really beautiful examples of it's okay, just feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, when you've been stifling trauma and emotion for extended periods of time and somebody says just feel it,
That's trauma.
No. What are you talking about?
no,
Trauma
thank
too.
you. No, thank
Right.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So being willing to allow the sneeze.
Yes. I want to bring up your graphic if I can find it really quick because it was so beautiful. Let's see why. Yes, here it is. So beautiful.
Yes. Right.
Deep emotional.
Is it okay if I read it? Oh, good.
Yeah.
So
this really is the time. This is the time for healing.
Yeah.
Deep emotional trauma situations you thought you cleared are coming up again for more awareness. Healing is done in layers, just like an onion. You have to continue to spiral through the same emotional experiences until there is no electrical charge left to trigger you. I am a walking testimonial of this very description. And I'm not special. I am not talking about myself because I am my own favorite subject. I'm just using myself as an example of thousands of people who know how true this is. And you sometimes don't feel like you're ever going to get to the core of that onion. Keep going.
I'm going to agree but disagree with you for 1 second. For people that know how important this is, but more importantly, to shed light for people that have no idea. I just feel so. I have goosebumps, and at the end, I just wanted to scream out, "Amen, amen, amen"
Yes.
to this.
Yes.
But I hope that we have a lot of people that are sitting there going, "Wait, what? Wait, can you say that again?" I really hope that we are opening that door of just possibilities, and that if this helps one person in understanding that their emotional healing is, and just like when you go to the doctor and they're on their way out the door and they're like, oh yeah, diet and exercise, that's cool. You should do that. That's cool. I feel like the same thing with emotional health.
Yes.
Although the answer to that is, do you want an antidepressant? But, oh, well, doctor, would it help if I, started dealing with my emotions and oh yeah, sure. Go for a run. That'd be great.
Yeah.
And they're out the door. So our sick care system, along with so many other things, true diet. And what I don't mean diet, you're on a diet. I mean, what you're putting in, what you're feeding your body, because even foods have frequency.
Mm-hmm.
What you're
feeding your body on all levels.
Yes. Correct. Yes. Exactly.
And I think this happens going into what Lori has been experiencing with Clean Slate, I think is what the psychiatric part of the healthcare has missed, or the therapy part is, if you bring up these emotions, but you don't have a point and an ability to actually remove them, then you're just stirring the murky water to see what comes up. It eventually settles back down for it to come up again. So you're really not helping the situation. And that's where I love the walk that Lori is going through, because with the use of Clean Slate, it's actually removing the attachment that the emotions are holding on to, and literally, scientifically, removing the emotion from the body with what is holding it there.
Yes.
And then whenever you do that, your body will regenerate. Whenever you feed it the frequency food, whenever you give it the regeneration ability, we see that a lot with once you add in the restore or the relive greens with the clean slate, you're actually giving your body the ability to, I almost see it as, let's see. So you have a sick pool, and it's almost like you're sucking out. You have a clean slate is like the drainer, and then you have the restore or the relive greens, or both. And what that's doing is that's actually the clean water that's coming in to clean the pool. And then as you do that, the more and more it becomes less murky and it becomes more clear. And then you have crystal clear water that is healthy to regenerate the body. Right. I hope that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Yes.
And I kind of want to revisit your.
I'm going to stop for 1 second. Shanna, can you pull Lori back up so we can see her beautiful face?
Oh, yes. Oh,
there we go.
Okay. The other picture was nicer.
No, I like to be able to see.
I want to get back to your quantum word, because you touched on stirring things up, but not really getting them out. Mm-hmm. When we start talking about quantum healing and we start looking at these mental thoughts that might be really unhealthy for us, that trickle down into our body, and these emotions that might not be healthy for us at all, and they trickle down into our body. When you start getting bold enough and brave enough to visit those thoughts and those emotions, you will be so surprised at how quickly you can move through them when you use the power of intent. When you sit down and you really want to take a look at XYZ PDQ, and you move into that space with the intent to heal this and resolve it and detox it out of your entire energy field, it can be, sometimes it might be a 90-second cry sesh. And I'm not kidding. It doesn't have to be this 6-week, 6-month dramatic thing, because intent is everything. And I don't know if you guys do this. I don't know if I'm a weirdo, but when I take my clean slate, I have a moment of intent with my drops. When I take restore, I have a moment of intent with my restore. And I don't really want to say prayer, but I do put some intent behind how I'm supporting my body on all levels. And that's, these are kind of the doors that I want to poke open a little bit and maybe get people's wheels turning a little bit and be like, what? Right. What are you talking about? Give me more of that. That's my hope.
So I love how you're describing how you take it, because that is very similar to how Dr. Christina makes it.
Yes.
She has, it's quantum ceutical. She has intention. She has, she'll do frequencies, polarization, magnets, but she will sing to her formulations. And, just as we all care for our children, right? And we sing a song while our baby is crying, and we try to calm them and soothe them and have a good energy between us. That's what she does to her formulation. She cares for them as her baby.
Yeah.
And then she provides those to us. And so imagine they're already coming to you with the healing frequencies and the intent in them. And then you're giving them, right?
My own imprint.
Right. So just like
my own energy field.
Right. So mom is holding their baby, trying to share the positive energy. And now you have this item in your hand, and it comes to you with good energy. And now you're giving your energy and intent to it. So amazing. I love that.
It can be, and it can be really cathartic. Like Shanna said, when you're actually using clean slate for the detox and you're allowing these emotions to go with it. But even if you don't even know what clean slate is yet, just, again, I go back to allow the sneeze. When these emotions come up, when these intense situations come up, just allow that emotion for a minute and almost like set yourself aside and look at yourself, like you're observing your own reactions to your spouse or to your children or your boss or whatever, and really look at your responses and be like, this is really upsetting me. Let's take a look at why this is really upsetting me right now. This is a great opportunity for me to move through this emotion and heal this. I intend that this doesn't bother me anymore. I want to heal this. Let's take a look at this. That's the kind of stuff that I want to hopefully people are already doing this. But I feel like most adults have been trained to not even know that this is an option. And
Agreed.
really start looking at that which no longer serves us. Bring it up for healing. It's already coming up for healing. Use it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Use all of the things to really get into the root cause of our problems.
I love that. Ooh.
Not symptom management. You know,
No.
we're not going to recycle the emotions. We're not going to regurgitate them and invest in them. You know, a lot of people invest in their diagnoses and their labels and their illnesses, and that's got a pretty heavy vibe. And you know, kind of like you said, are you investing in that life force, or are you investing in that death force? You know, are you investing in your healing by allowing and being willing? And you know, and when I first started my journey started with a candida cleanse. And the woman who guided me through this said, are you eating food to live? Are you eating live food, or are you eating dead food? And I just went, what do you mean dead food? And she said, well, for example, when's the last time you drove down the road and saw a field of Fritos growing? Did you ever drive by and see this beautiful crop of Fruit Loops? I just went, oh, wow.
Like
Dead food.
Right.
And it just opened up like a whole, because I was raised on dead food.
Right. There is no
And it just-
tree.
It just poof, you know, right. And I really started to see food differently, and food that supports and food that doesn't. There are thoughts that support and thoughts that don't. There are emotions that support and emotions that don't. Look at the whole Shazam and love thyself. Be compassionate with yourself. Be patient with yourself, and ask the loved ones around you for the same. You know what? I am having a day. It's not you. I'm working through it. I have all of the intent in the world to heal this and move through it and be done. But I need a minute.
Right.
I honestly think if you can identify, and I don't mean identify every little part. If you can identify that you're having a bad day, you're having an emotional day, and like you said, proactively go to your family and say, it's not you. I understand what I am going through today. It is not you. Please know that. Please know that if I have a response, that I know it is me, and I'm trying to work through that today. And you can't even say I'm going to control it today. I'm going to work through it today.
Yes.
So if something happens and I walk away, please know that's my way of working through it, identifying it, and working through it today.
Communication.
Absolutely.
Yes. So if you can be proactive with your family, that is huge.
And honoring it like it really is no different than a cold or a flu or a whatever else. It's just as much a symptom as anything else. Just honor it, move through it, make yourself some chicken soup. I mean, just
so
honor these things.
If something silly like, I don't know, you open up the drawer and it's stuck and you pull it and you're pulling at it so hard and you start crying over it, right? If you walk away and you go take some 5 minutes of you time, it's no different than, oh, I think I have to sneeze. I think I'm going to sneeze. You would say, okay, I have to sneeze. And then you're probably going, got to find the light, look up the light. And then you sneeze. But you wouldn't say, oh, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to sneeze. You don't do that. I don't.
You don't do that.
Right. So
You don't not urinate. You don't not drink water. You
right.
just, it's the same. And that's where I kind of want to blow up people's minds a little bit, to really get them
love that.
thinking that, oh my gosh.
Right.
Look,
and I think moms feel that they have to be the strong ones in the family. I can't show my weakness. I can't show I have to be strong. I'm going to go to the other room to show. It's okay to show your children that you have emotion.
mm-hmm.
You can share your emotion, and how to, at the end of the day, that I'm going to take some time to work through my emotions. Lead by example.
Yeah, exactly.
I used to do that with my kids. I used to put myself in timeout. I'd be like, okay, mommy needs a timeout. And they didn't quite understand at the time, but I would sit there and I would go into prayer, or I'd get out my Bible and I'd read, or I'd journal. And it actually taught my kids, as they got older, instead of them blowing up with their emotions, they started putting themselves in timeout. Mom, I need a minute. I need to go to my room.
Right.
And it taught them, and it wasn't to get rid of it. They would go to their room and they would sit in prayer and they would do things. And they got to where they'd come out and they were perfectly fine. And it was because they weren't suppressing it. They were actually taking the time to actually sit and deal with it at the time, so that it doesn't go down and affect other organs and create physical problems, because your emotion will create the physical problems. That's why they can't find anything wrong with you at the doctor, because they don't operate on the quantum level. They don't operate on the emotional and how it affects everything, because they're not taught. It's not their fault. They're just not taught. Right. So whenever you can understand this, do you need to go to the doctor for this ailment, or do you need to deal with what the underlying cause is and help regenerate that organ, because you're dealing with anger, right, or whatever it is?
Right.
Right. Exactly.
How interesting would it be if you went to the doctor and said, well, I have some anger. Could you help me work on my liver? They would probably look at you like you had 10 heads, but we are here to support that and tell you, look at it. And we can post a picture of that, how the organs hold on to the emotions. Yeah. I really like the idea of remembering to deal with emotions feels negative. Support and embrace those emotions, work through them in the best possible way, whatever works for you. But also, if you have little kids, teach your kids, talk to your spouse, right? Talk to your spouse and identify, I think I can't believe how angry I've been lately. And I want you to know it's not you. I'm probably holding something in my liver. I hadn't really put the two together, and I just wanted to let you know that I'm working on it. Again, proactive. When you're telling your family, your loved ones, your friends what's going on, then they can support you through it. Again, support, embrace.
Or just give you space. Bless my husband, my goodness. It's been, and there's one other piece that I'd like to touch on too, with people with chronic illnesses, like lifelong chronic illnesses, excuse me. It can be a really lonely, painful road, and it can take a toll on every relationship in your life. I want to honor everybody who is watching this, and if I'm talking to you right now, I hear you, I see you, I understand you, and keep going. Because if I know one thing, I know chronic, lifelong illness. I know what a massive toll it takes on relationships. And see, this is where I'm going to get all emotional. I also know wellness, and I also know healing. And I celebrate your wellness. I celebrate your healing. Keep going. Keep doing it. Keep looking for your answers. Keep digging. Keep healing, layer by layer by layer, by layer by layer, lovingly, gently, and reach out for the support. Of course, this group is here to support you, but I actually found a lot of helpful like reframing my mind and my thoughts and my emotions with books. Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Wayne Dyer. Louise Hay has a book, You Can Heal Your Life. That was one of the very first books that I ever read about how our thoughts trickle down into our body and how they can correlate with emotions and symptoms and even structure. You know, certain parts of our back that might be flared up can be related to certain traumas and emotions that we have. There's so many tools that we can use in our world right now today. We have so many options for healing. Don't stop looking for your right thing.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I like the idea that we've brought to light that what we put into our body matters. So you can take a look at your diet. If it's full of sugar or processed food or a lot of gluten, which is actually a glyphosate problem, look what you're putting into your body, look what's already in your body. You know, if you have mercury toxicity or, insulin resistance, you have diabetes, look what's in your body, look what you're putting into your body, and make a decision each day to do just a little bit better. One of the things I talk about with people when we're talking about changing your habits in eating is don't try to go full force on day one. You will fail.
And it will be uncomfortable.
Plan for the fail. And what do I mean by plan for the fail? What you put into your body starts at home with your list and then goes to the grocery store and your choices in the grocery store. And by the way, those are all choices. What you put in that basket is solely your choice. You know whose choice it isn't? Is your children. So be a health leader for your family. Be an emotional and a spiritual and a health leader for your family. What you bring home is what they will put in their body. There's no 2-year-old driving themselves to the grocery store. So you can't blame them. When you say to your kid, you need to eat better, they're eating what you've provided in their house. And that's a hard pill to swallow as a parent. But, low frequency food versus high frequency food, living food, like Lori said, there are no cupcakes hanging off of a tree.
No.
There are no Fruit Loops
Darn it.
growing in a field. As much as we want it to be, and we understand everybody has that sugar thing, it's really something to think about. So be a good health leader for your family, be a good emotional leader for your family, lead by example, be proactive, plan for the fail so that you don't. So when people are talking about eating, so back to plan for the fail, when you open that refrigerator, you need to, that plan should be sitting in front of you. So if you open up your pantry and all that's there are, pastries and chips, that's what you're going to eat. But if you open up if you're hungry or you're having an emotional moment and you go over and what's there is an apple or an orange or Relive greens, that's what's supportive to your body and that's what you're going to put in it. And then you're on your way to healing because you've made a better choice.
And going a step further, it's what we surround ourselves with too.
Yes.
When I didn't feel good, it just kept snowballing and snowballing and snowballing. And I know my thoughts and emotions contributed to my illness. And undoing a lot of that is reading books about positivity and reading and filling your mind with healing, with life, not illness, but life. Watching videos that support your wellness, watching movies that support your wellness, just your whole beingness. You have unlimited potential to expand your healing. And humans are so limited in how we think about so many things. And when you start to expand a little bit and then you expand a little bit more, you realize we have a miraculous ability to heal. If we just open up to that abundance and allow that healing into our lives, you'll be surprised all of a sudden this video pops up and you're like, wow, that was really helpful. Somebody loans you a book and you read this book and you're like, what did I do without this book? It just, it has a snowball effect, just like illness can have a snowball effect. So, kind of like you choose what you pick at the grocery store. You choose what you watch on TV, if you even watch TV. You choose what you watch on YouTube. You choose what you read. You choose who you surround yourself with. Do they bring you up or do they bring you down? All of it.
And I know we're wrapping up here, but I wanted to say that you choose the music you listen to, and music has different frequencies and different hertz. There are frequencies for healing.
Yes.
And there is music that there's actually, I wish I could think of it off the top of my head. There is a musician that identified that when his music is played in a certain hertz, that he was feeling depressed and having anxiety. And he changed the hertz of his music and changed his life. Oh, how I wish I could remember that.
Awesome.
I'll ask my son if he remembers, because I did send that to him. So frequency in frequency tones, you can look that right up on YouTube, frequency healing tones.
There's an older man that has a harp, and it's a traditional Hebrew harp, like they would have played in the temple with King David and everything. And he plays that, and he has like a 4-hour session of 444 hertz of just healing, of peace. And then he has another one for worship, and it's really, really good. And you could just put that on in the background. And I tell you what, it affects you at a cellular level. You will feel it down inside of yourselves.
Maybe you could put that in the comments if you're able to find that.
Yep, I'll find that. I'm also going to, I was looking for it and I couldn't find it in time. I'm also going to do a post to show you guys the frequencies that are in Clean Slate, as Dr. Christina puts them on under the dark field microscopy. So we actually have a picture of the frequencies of Clean Slate. It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen.
That could be artwork on the wall for sure. So, well, Lori, I am so grateful that you were here. I'm so glad that you came on with us. We love a special guest star.
Thank you for inviting me. I hope I was helpful.
Absolutely. Yes. And if you have any questions for Lori, please feel free to put those in the comments. Not that we won't help her answer, but she's our resident expert here in this for this hour. So thank you so much for being here. I hope this was helpful. If you all that are watching this, if you are watching this on YouTube, please join our Facebook group. If you're watching this in our Facebook group, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have any further information that you would like when it comes to emotions, we would love to do a part 2. So feel free to comment and ask questions that might spark us into having a second session. We would love that. And other than that, I think we are wrapped up for the day. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.